Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Patricia Capella, Conference Manager for Clarion UX Food and Beverage Trade Shows, which produces several industry events and conferences. During these uncertain times, we are doing everything we can to help our industry be updated with education and stay connected during this rapidly changing environment. With us today is Chef Mareya Ibrahim, aka the Fit Foodie and founder of eCleaner. Mareya will be providing us with tips and ideas on setting up your kitchen for healthy, delicious meals all week long. A few housekeeping notes before the presentation begins. All audience members are on listen-only mode, which means you are muted. We will be monitoring audience engagement on the dashboard and do encourage you to participate by using the question pane. There will be time for questions and answers at the end of the session. This webinar, as well as others in our series, will be made available on our website in the coming week. Now, let me turn the program over to Mareya. Mareya?
Thank you so much, Patricia, and everybody. It's so nice to be back on with you if you attended our webinar last week. Last week, we talked about the food service industry and ways to pivot and earn your customer confidence, which is so incredibly important during these unprecedented times when everybody is focused more intently on food safety than ever. And the same thing really goes for our own kitchens. We're maybe for the first time exploring how to get the most out of meals and make sure everybody that is prepping with us knows how to take care of their food safety as well. And so I'm going to touch on that a little bit, but the focus of today really is about creating healthy, delicious meals all week long, because let's face it, it can get pretty grueling to be creative and to actually find those ingredients in the stores right now. I live in Southern California, and it just depends on the time of day. Even though we are surrounded by grocery stores, more than not, I'm finding that the shelves are wiped out. So we're going to talk about how to be creative. And to start, we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition, because that's really where I speak about food. I come from the perspective that we lead with what we need. And the truth is, I mean, we have freedom of choice in our selections, and you can do the majority of your shopping in the sugary cereal aisle. That sure seems pretty comforting these days, but it's not going to do much to serve you in the long run. And my goal is to use this time that we have to not only make sure our meals are delicious, but that they're feeding us to the core, that they're feeding our need for essential amino acids, that we're getting the right combination of micronutrients, that we're getting probiotics, enzymes, that we are enjoying a multitude of flavors. And so my philosophy, which I go over in pretty good detail in my book, Eat Like You Give a Fork, The Real Dish on Eating to Thrive, is where we're going to start. So with that, next slide, please. I don't know about you, but to add to all of this, you may be feeling very much daunted by choices, because if you are following a certain diet, it might be really hard to find ingredients to support that. You may be following a paleo regimen or keto, or maybe you're vegan or pescatarian. Maybe you're gluten-free, maybe you're even vegan, which is kind of one of the latest terms in the diet vocabulary, which is paleo vegan. And I just say, what the fork? It's really confusing out there. And you may be following one of these and not even knowing why you're doing it. Maybe it is working, maybe it's not. But the truth is, I want to set all of that aside, because you don't need to feel that extra stress right now. I want you to focus more on the nutrients that we're getting. If you think more from the perspective of being a holistic eater, getting a full range of nutrients, it makes it a whole lot easier. Because if you have to, follow something that, oh, I don't know, makes you feel like more structured, than you need to right now, it might just be a little bit of a hard pill to swallow. So we're going to set that aside just for now and focus more on nutrition holistically. Next slide. It feels different to go to the grocery store. I mean, the guy on the left, that's what I could relate to. I'd go to the grocery store and it was like an adventure. You know, you go up and down the aisles and you see what there is, what new items there are. Now, we're the people on the right wearing masks and gloves and just praying that our food gets home without being contaminated, right? It feels very different and it's daunting. But the one thing that I will say is nutrition is a constant, and so is food safety. We were featured as a company, and I got to show how to use our Eat Cleaner products on a segment with Fox Los Angeles on Monday. And it was really, really a great segment. And I encourage you guys all to take a look at it. We have it posted on our Facebook page, on our Eat Cleaner page. But the thing that I loved about it was they dispelled some of the myths. Some of the myths around food safety right now and the use of things like soap and water to clean your produce, and how long does COVID-19 actually live on the surface of packaging. So I would take a look at that when you get a chance. But the bottom line is we want to feel safe and comforted and secure in our shopping practices and in the food that we bring home. And so that experience of going to the grocery store is more about efficiency now. It requires planning. It requires going in with a list so that you can get what you need to get done in and out as quick as possible. And so that extra bit of preparation is really essential. And we're going to talk about how that prepping and planning works into making healthy, delicious meals all week long. Next slide. I mean, let's face it, the little kid in us wants to be right there, right? In front of all the cereals. And, in my approach, I call it the 90-10 rule, and there's a whole strategy dedicated to it in the book. But the truth is, when you practice an approach to eating well, you never really feel like you have to sacrifice, because there is some room to indulge. There is that 10% that allows you to flex your taste buds, but the 90% is the majority. And so with that, I want you to put your sugary and hyper salty taste buds to the side, and we're going to do a little bit of retraining. Next slide. This is an amazing quote. And if there's one thing about nutrition that I want you to take away, it's this one. I had the chance to work with Dr. Mark Hyman on several books. I created the nutrition program for the Daniel Plan with him. And in our discussions, he mentioned this, and I just thought this is the most important nugget that I think anybody could take away when they think about food as fuel. Food is the code that programs your biology. You can literally upgrade or downgrade your software with every bite. And so what that means is food is no longer about burning calories. Calorie is just a unit of measurement. It's just a unit of heat. You can burn a calorie, but you can't burn information. So if you're eating a lot of junk food, a lot of empty calories, a lot of processed food, it can downgrade your biology, meaning that it puts you at risk of inviting disease into your body. It lowers your ability to function and fire on all cylinders like that amazing, sexy sports car that you are. So it's not just about the calorie burn. It's about what the food is doing to upgrade your biology, to upgrade your DNA. And you can reverse disease in many cases, and you can reverse the aging process, and you can do so much to support what your body needs when you make good decisions with what you put in your mouth. And it starts at the end of your fork. Next slide. So you're like, Mareya, you said, I don't need to think about diets right now. What the fork should I eat? Well, I'm so glad you asked. We're going to get on that right now. But let me just say, these brownies, okay? So I was on a show called Recipe Rehab. I don't know if any of you guys saw it, but it was a great show. And it was a challenge where two chefs would go up against each other. It was on ABC on Saturday mornings, and it was a family show. Two chefs would go up against each other, and we would rehab recipes from real families across the country. And it included everything from spaghetti and meatballs to meatloaf to brownies, cookies, chocolate cake, you name it, all of the yummy, yummy goodies. And I was one of the chefs. I was on for 3 seasons. And it was amazing to see these recipes that came in from families. And when you would look at them, you would just think, wow, yeah, that's yummy. But man, one slice of chocolate cake with 75 grams of sugar and 45 grams of fat and 1,100 calories, like, is that even possible? So we were tasked with taking the ingredients that didn't really serve our health and swapping them out with better for you options. And these brownies that you're looking at right now were actually brownies that I created, and I took out all of the fat that was in there, the saturated fat, and replaced the fat with berries. It's amazing how you can add moisture and fiber in with other ingredients. And then I took out all of the refined sugar and I used xylitol instead, which is a sugar alcohol. Since then, that show was on several years ago. Since then, there are even more natural sweeteners that are available to us that still do the trick. So the point is, you don't have to sacrifice what you love. You can make healthier swaps. And that's why the 90-10 rule exists, is even when you're looking at the dishes, maybe you have mom's apple pie or so many other things that dishes that are in your family that you love, you know, there are better options. So you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater is what I like to say. You can still hold on to those family recipes and just make them better for you. And that's a lot of what I teach in my approach. All right, next slide. Oh, are we having problems with the audio? Should I take my headset out? Let me try that.
Mareya, can you hear me?
What is that? Is that better?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can now hear you. There have been some issues with some people not being able to access the audio. It keeps coming in and out.
Oh,
but
okay. I'll take the headphones off and we'll just go with the speaker and the computer. Hopefully that's better.
Okay, and I also just sent a note out to the group that if you call in from your phone rather than using the computer audio, it seems to be working fine. So I did post the phone number on the chat box if anybody wants to call in on that phone number.
Okay, great. Sorry about that.
Hopefully thank you.
All righty. Next slide, please. Next. Can you guys hear me? Can you advance the next slide, please?
Mareya, I can hear you. Leanne, are you still good?
Uh-oh.
Sorry about that. We seem to be having some technical difficulties. If you, Amy, can you make me the presenter, and I'll finish off the PowerPoint for Mareya.
Oh, we've got it. She's on now. Okay, we're good. Okay. All right. Sorry about that, everybody. So in our approach, in my approach that I want to share with you today, carbs and fat are required. I hope that's okay with you. Carbs and fat are required in your everyday eating plan. They are there to feed your muscles and to feed your brain and to feed your sustained energy. I want you to eat multiple times a day. There's no data out there that says there's one approach. However, what we've found is when you eat multiple times a day, the great thing is that your blood sugar stays sustained. So you never are experiencing crashes and spikes. And a sustained blood sugar is important to your overall health. So you get to eat multiple times a day with this program. There's even an all-you-can-eat buffet, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but just hold on to that for a second, because I think that may be one of the most exciting things that you've heard all day. And if you haven't already kind of inferred this from what I've presented so far, you can eat whatever the fork you want, but it's not all the time. It is limited. That's okay. We're going to enjoy it that much more when we get to it. All right, next slide. I want you to think about meals from an abundance standpoint. In Italian, it's abbondanza. And I had the very, very amazing privilege of living in Italy for a good amount of time when I was in college. And I loved the Italians' approach to eating. It was about abundance. It was about conviviality. It was about every bite meaning something, tasting amazing, sourcing from places and people that meant something, that had a deep connection with the land, with the food, with the product. If you've ever watched Chef's Table on Netflix, you kind of understand what I'm talking about when you hear a chef's perspective or a purveyor's perspective on, you know, their product and what they're bringing together for people to enjoy. And I think we can take this time in this different season, let's just call it a new season of understanding and connecting with our health and rewriting what it means to enjoy healthy food. It is not about deprivation. It's about absolute abundance. Abundance that allows you to enjoy different colors of the rainbow, different textures, different flavors, and never feeling bored with that, always feeling excited about the next bite. And all of these dishes, I would say, are pretty darn healthy. And they all come from my book. And when I created them, I had in mind you. I had you in mind because I know that you're busy and I know that you've got a lot of different things to juggle. And I know that you're oftentimes wondering, what should I follow? What should I believe? And as a busy mom myself, you know, I wanted to be able to pull together dishes that didn't require a lot of different dishes, that didn't require a lot of prep time, that didn't require laundry lists of ingredients, and really get down to the brass tacks of flavor and function. And when we think about abundance being that, feeding our cells, giving us the fuel that we need to thrive, giving us the self-confidence and the energy to slay the day and get what we need out of it, it really changes our lexicon and how we approach our food and how we approach different food choices. Next slide. So in the book, I talk about a taste bud reset. And if you think about that slide of the little girl standing in front of the cereal aisle, you'll understand that by the age of 5, we pretty much imprinted our taste buds. So if you have a tendency to lean towards the sugar and the salt, which is usually associated with highly processed foods, then you probably are one of those people that had their taste buds imprinted at a fairly young age, like most of us, but maybe didn't have a chance to enjoy a variety of foods. And that's okay. The truth is our taste buds turn over regularly every couple of weeks. So if one week you try something and you just think, wow, I didn't really enjoy that, but you try it a couple weeks later and you're like, wait, I kind of like that. And you're wondering, how could you have changed your mind? Well, you changed your taste buds. And how you change your taste buds is by eating more of those foods and doing it regularly. The bitter, the sour, and the umami taste buds are the ones that I want to cultivate so that you can raise healthy options. There's a reason for that.
Mareya,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there seems to be some feedback from maybe your computer audio.
Hold on one second.
Yeah, that's perfect. Whatever you just changed. Yes, thank you.
Okay. So those taste buds being associated with better health include bitter, sour, and umami. Bitter, especially greens, are going to help with healthy cell regeneration, with your skeletal system strength and your cardiovascular system. Sour foods that often come from fermented items like fermented, pickled products. They can come from yogurt. They can come from apple cider vinegar, raw apple cider vinegar. This is incredibly important for your gut health. And those prebiotics and probiotics that help to cultivate your gut health really is the central system of your overall health. When your gut is in good health, everything works properly. It's called the little brain, but to me, it really is, in a lot of ways, the bigger brain, because your stomach health, your gut health, really wags the tail of the whole body. So getting that in order is super important. And then umami taste buds help to regulate your muscle mass. Those are the amino acids, the essential amino acids that help to regulate your hormones, but also build muscle mass so you burn more efficiently. That helps to regulate your metabolism and help support organ health. So it's not just these flavors that taste delicious and offer a variety of different foods for us. They are integrally connected to our body's overall ability to function and thrive. It's pretty amazing how we were designed that way. So letting go of the sweet and the salty just requires us to focus on these different flavors first. And in the book, I talk about a taste bud reset, giving your body a chance to kind of let loose of the stronghold that those other flavors can have on it. And we do an 8-day taste bud reconditioning program. We cut out all the caloric sugar, like even including maple syrup and coconut sugar, agave, etc. We cut out breads and bread products, bread tortillas, pasta, etc. We cut out dairy products made with cow's milk because those are high in sugar. Your body creates sugar from them too. We cut out processed foods, artificial sweeteners, of course, those don't have a place ever. And we really kind of put to the side sodas and juice and alcohol for that reset. And instead, we focus on foods like tomatoes and mushrooms that help to support that umami taste bud, along with meats too. You can eat, if you're a meat eater, you can eat turkey and bison and eggs and seafood. If you're a non-meat eater, you still get those umami flavors from tomatoes and mushrooms and seaweed. We support the sour taste buds with the apple cider vinegar. There's a great drink in here to help with that. It's called the Real Vitality Tonic, and it has raw apple cider vinegar and ginger and a little bit of lemon juice and cinnamon. It's so warming and yummy and helps with digestion too. And we support the bitter with a whole range of leafy greens and other vegetables. So it gives you very specific guidelines and even a meal plan to help support that. And in 8 days, it's amazing to see what can happen. And I think there's no better time than now to reset your taste buds, because that is going to help you get to the point where a healthy eating plan is going to make so much sense, and it's going to be welcome. It's going to feel like a breath of fresh air in this overall quest for better health. All right, next slide, please. So the essentials that we want to focus on are the 8 essential amino acids that you get from proteins. You can also get them from plant-based proteins just by combining them in the right proportions. Quinoa, for example, is a plant-based food that gives you the full range of amino acids, even beans and rice. So it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be simple things that you bring together to give you that full range. We have the 8 strategies that start with the reconditioning of your taste buds and build on how to stock your kitchen the right way, how to get good fats into your diet, how to bulk up on greens, those foods that help to lend themselves to that bitter taste profile that I was just talking about. So 8 strategies, an 8-day reset, and then you eat to infinity. There's no doing something one day and doing something the next week that is completely different. It's a program that you can eat and repeat. And I picked the number 8 for a lot of reasons, but 8 on its side is the infinity sign. So you can feel confident that this isn't a diet, it's just an approach. And when we apply the approach to how we set up our kitchen, you'll see the logic here. Just it's eat and repeat. And you don't have to rethink, what do I do every single week, which is just way too much stress for us these days, especially. All right, next slide, please. So if you take a screenshot of this slide, this is a great place to start. This gives you kind of a roadmap, if you will, of the main food groups that we're going to be focusing on for the next 8 days. And like I said, it goes into a lot more detail in the book, but this really gives you, I think, what you need in a snapshot. Also in the book, we have a full grocery list, and it's on page 58 if you happen to have it. And it talks about your essential refrigerator and what you can stock up to support your ongoing quest for health. And you can literally take this with you to the grocery store, or you can shop online wherever you tend to shop, and use this as your guideline. If you could get something from each of these categories onto your plate every single day, you are absolutely crushing it. And it's a great guideline for being able to add some creativity, because it doesn't have to look the same every single day. You can pick kale one day and collard greens the next, and a range of different lettuces, or combine them all and mix and match meals, which is the core part of my strategy that I'm going to talk about in just a few minutes. All right, next slide, please. And that is what we are talking about right now. It's the convertible meal strategy. And what a convertible meal means is once you have your core ingredients in place, it's about mixing and matching. Convertible, think about a car. Again, I'll go back to that car analogy. Think about a car and what a car does when you convert it, you put the top down and it turns into something else. Well, you can take simple ingredients and one meal turn it into a bowl, and one meal turn it into a salad, and one meal turn it into a wrap, and the next meal turn it into a stew or a soup, just by having some essential ingredients prepped and ready to go. So we start by stocking that pantry and fridge with the right stuff. Never before has this become more important. On Instagram, if you hashtag fridge goals, you'll see all kinds of fun things come up on refrigerator blueprints. And I have one that I will share with you. And it's really simple. A lot of fresh stuff and a lot of stuff that's already pre-cooked. And then in the pantry, it's single ingredients that you can then use to create this. Number two is we wash and prep our produce so that it's ready to go when we are. There's nothing worse than spending, good money on produce and having it go bad the next day. So I'm going to teach you how to wash it and prep it so that it lasts longer and goes the distance so that it's ready to go. Getting some grains and beans cooked off in advance. This usually takes the longest amount of time of any of the steps. So imagine if you're just cooking off a couple of grains, a couple of beans, maybe you're doing quinoa and black rice one day. Maybe you're doing, soaking your beans overnight and having them pre-cooked. Just taking that little step to get it done and having it last all week long will make this approach so much easier. Cooking off some proteins. Those can be vegetarian or meat-based proteins, but having some chicken and maybe some ground bison, maybe having some tempeh, that probiotic rich fermented soybean product that uses the whole soybean, which I love. It's much less processed than other soy products. So you can have those cooked off and ready to combine. And then what I call nutrient dense add-ons, those superfoods that add flavor, but also add nutritional value to your dish. And that might be in the form of seaweed flakes. I have this great recipe for furikake, which is one of my favorite words to say. But it is a seaweed-based seasoning that's common in Japanese cooking, and it's a combination of seaweed and sesame seeds and some other goodies, and it makes your meal pop. You might add some of that. You might add a little dash of goji berries to your oatmeal or your cooked grains in the morning. You might add, some coconut flake, unsweetened coconut flake. These are all nutrient dense add-ons that transform your meal, that are simple to keep in stock in your pantry. All right, next slide. So shopping and prepping smart is really essential to this strategy. Taking a list with you or using it to shop from. I know that some of the online shopping outlets out there are maybe taking a little bit more time than you would like to see. I know that we tried to use one and we were going to get our groceries a week and a half from that date, so that wasn't going to work. But there are other sites out there where you can shop from a list to get some of your pantry staples. I know Thrive Market is one that we use and one that carries our Eat Cleaner products too. Shopping from a list, taking it into the grocery store, knowing what you need so that you're prepped and planned for the week is key. And that's also going to help you stay on budget. Buying in bulk. This is another strategy right now that is super helpful. If you buy in bulk, you can then double the batch, which is one of the strategies that I have on here as well. There's a real beauty to making it once and having it later for another meal when you stick it in the freezer. So that is an important approach too. And when you shop online, oftentimes you're saving money And then you can create a grocery list that you just keep for the next time that you shop. So you don't have to redo it or rethink what you're going to buy next time. It's just there for you. And what I love about shopping and prepping smart is it's a zero waste strategy. You know, never before has taking an approach to food that does not allow for waste been more important, because it's such a valuable resource to have fresh food right now. So if you're making extra and freezing it, nothing is going to waste. And by the way, I have a great tip. If you're buying fresh herbs and you think, well, I'm never going to be able to use them for what I need this week, take your fresh herbs and place them in one of those old school ice cube trays, and then fill each little pocket with some olive oil and just stick it in the freezer. And then when you need to add a little dash of flavor, you just pop one of those cubes out, and then you can saute vegetables or cook your chicken in there. It's a great little hack for being able to hold on herbs. But we have a lot of different hacks and ways to help to prevent food waste on our website at eatcleaner.com. But all of these approaches will help you from eliminating waste as well. All right, next slide, please. So meal prep looks like this. It's getting your pantry in order and purging the things that don't serve you, getting rid of the super hyper sugary foods, because, you know, if they're in there, you might have really good self-control, but these days when we're spending a lot of time at home, why do that to yourself? So take a minute to purge what doesn't serve you and fill it with the good stuff. Dry and canned beans, superfood grains, lentils, oats that can be used for a multitude of different dishes. Having good tomato pastes and sauces on deck for simple dishes, simple meals, broths and stocks to cook your grains and to add flavor to your greens, especially the hardy greens like collards that need a little bit of coercing to make them palatable. A variety of different raw nuts that you can either toast or chop up. We've got a ton of recipes that incorporate nuts on our website and in the book too, and those are amazing sources of good fat. Dried fruit, again, that you can add to breakfast cereals made with those grains, or even some of the treats that we make. A variety of oils and vinegars, and spices. Spices are your best friend right now. I know there are a lot of great spice blends out there that make it very simple. There's a great company called Mom's Magic Masala, and they have a couple of really nice spice blends that we use here in our house a lot. And it adds so much flavor. It's like it just transforms what you're doing with a little dash of spice, and you can have the same core ingredients that taste completely different just by seasoning them differently. So bring a little bit of the global cuisine of the world to your plate with just your spices. And then, of course, stocking your fridge with a bunch of great produce. Eat the rainbow. Every color of the rainbow serves a different part of you. Having a variety of proteins. Select dairy. After you've done the reset, there are a number of dairy items, and if you don't eat dairy, that's fine, but there are a lot of dairy items that really can help to bolster your health. I'm a big fan of probiotic rich yogurt, especially plain Greek yogurt, the one that doesn't have sugar added to it, because you can use it for so many different dishes. Being Middle Eastern, yogurt is a big part of our everyday, and we make a lot of sauces with it. We use it to, we add it to soups. We make a great cucumber yogurt sauce that we eat with pretty much everything. So having yogurt there for smoothies too is a great thing to have. And we do a lot of sheep's milk and goat milk cheese, which adds flavor, protein, and you can use it in a little bit goes a long way, basically. So don't be scared of select dairy if you don't have an intolerance. And if you do, those cow milk alternatives like goat milk and sheep's milk are usually a lot easier to digest. Having some shelf-stable produce, like sweet potatoes. That's a great ingredient to add to your everyday, helps to regulate hormones and insulin, and helps to stabilize blood sugar. So those are really good foods to have and easy to convert. Fermented foods that are pickled, snacking veggies like Persian cucumbers and baby tomatoes and celery, having those washed and cut up and ready in your fridge to snack on instead of grabbing chips, totally the way to go. And then good fats like tahini, avocado, and ghee, which feed that brain. All right, next slide. I'm going to speed through the next few because I want to talk a little bit more about the meals themselves. But taking an hour every week to do a little bit of meal prep will really go a long way for you. We created our Eat Cleaner products to help you get your produce washed and ready to eat and to help them last up to 5 times longer. So here's a picture of some strawberries that were washed, and literally 21 days later, we were still eating them. But doing this and getting everything washed and placed into glass containers so you can see them turns your refrigerator into a salad bar. And it's so much more appetizing when you can see what's in there instead of them hiding in plastic bags in your crisper. And when you're making a salad or a stew, or you're throwing a breakfast bowl together, you see your inventory. You know, if you're in food service and you walk into your walk-in, you want to know what's in there, and you've got everything in your bins, in your containers, and you can see what you have. It's the same approach with being at home and looking at your own fridge. And Eat Cleaner products do help to remove the waxy, oily substances, viruses, bacteria that can cause you to get sick, unlike rinsing with water. So that's a great thing to add to your everyday practices. And certainly if you can get your produce to last that much longer, why not? All right, next slide, please. Cooking off those grains and beans, I like to pick 2 each week and just vary them up. And we have an Instant Pot. You know, that makes life a whole lot easier, and having tools that help you with this process so you can literally press a button and forget about it is great. I do highly recommend rinsing your grains very well before you cook them, and soaking your beans. If you're making beans from scratch, you're not using canned beans, soaking them overnight, that will help to reduce some of the things that can help make it hard to digest beans, and your family will thank you for that if you do that. Just trust me. So soak your beans overnight, and you can even pressure cook those if you need to, and that will help to relieve some of the, let's just call it the gas producing byproducts of beans. And then you have your different mix and match options to combine for your convertible meals. All right, next slide, please. Cooking off proteins, we always make a bunch of hard-boiled eggs in our house. We'll cook those off. We'll have some chicken breast chopped up. I mean, we're feeding 4 teenage boys here on any given day. So you can just imagine this is essential to our sanity. If they open up the fridge and they don't see anything, there will be widespread panic. And that may be the same case in your house, but maybe you're just cooking for one. So maybe picking a couple of these options so you don't get bored. Eggs are great because they're versatile and you can put them in just about anything. The middle picture on the bottom is tempeh. We slice that up and add a little bit of chili sauce to it. Broil that, and again, ready to go into salads and bowls. And then we also do a little bit of sauteed either ground beef or bison, and then that can be added to a variety of dishes. We like to do stuffed peppers around here, and we'll do stuffed cabbage sometimes, add those to lettuce cups, and there you go. That's another great thing that you can add to a variety of dishes. Next slide, please. And then those nutrient dense add-ons, that furikake in the left picture there, such a good little thing that you can add to a spice jar. I've got the recipe in the book for you. Pickled vegetables, we have a great recipe for a quick pickle. It's called a quickle, and you can make that literally just by simmering the pickling juice and pouring it over your vegetables. It's a great, nice little sour addition to your meals. And I like taking my nutrient dense add-ons and placing them in spice containers, and I have them all together literally in a stack in my kitchen. And whenever we make anything like oatmeal or we'll make a bowl, we just pop that out and it's like a little topping salad bar. So it makes it a lot easier when you have a system. So find those glass jars, find some little empty spice jars, and then you can place all of those ingredients that you always go to so that they're easy to grab. Next slide, please. And then this is what it looks like, my friends. Grab and go convertible meals. You might not be going anywhere, but I'm just saying it makes mealtime so much faster and more efficient when you get some of these ingredients pre-made. You know, while you're washing your produce, you're cooking off your beans and your grains, and you're grilling your proteins or you're baking them in the oven, and in an hour, you have all of this versatility. Do you need recipes for all of this? You might, and we have the book for you and a lot of resources at eatcleaner.com, but in a lot of ways you don't. It's pretty easy to assemble a bowl when you've got your avocado and your grilled chicken or tempeh and you have all your veggies cut up. You know, you can grab the same ingredients and assemble a wrap or a salad or pull together a soup puree. We have a great recipe. It's my mom's recipe, actually, for a pureed lentil soup. That is like one of my love languages, is that nourishing bowl of soup. And if you're in a cold climate, there's nothing more welcome. You can just do that in your food processor or with a stick blender. So lots of different ways to take that one ingredient and repurpose it so you never get bored. Next slide, please. And a lot of better for you options that, you know, while we want to support the restaurants around us, some of us just don't want to go out. You can make healthy takeout options like these overstuffed sweet potatoes that I made for the doctors. I was on their show a couple months ago and they loved this dish. They also loved that spaghetti squash pad thai. So you're saving a lot of calories that are good calories, and you're getting better for you proteins because you are buying the more sustainable options. You know, you're controlling the salt, you're controlling the sugar that's being added. So there's a lot to be said about knowing what goes into your own dishes, and having that, you know, that ownership of it at home. Next slide, please. So here are just some healthy habits that I want to reinforce as you go on with your day at home. Smaller reconditioning meals that help support sustained blood sugar is really key. So maybe instead of sitting down to 3 big meals, you're doing maybe 5 smaller meals and portioning them out. Try and get 1 raw meal a day so you get that full range of probiotics, enzymes, and nutrients that are not killed off by heat. It could be a simple salad. It could be some snacking veggies cut up with hummus. We have a great grilled artichoke hummus in the book, and a sun-dried tomato, white bean, and basil dip that's to die for. Super yummy and easy to make. Hydrate right. So hydration is maybe equally or maybe even more important than food, in making sure that your system is moving smoothly and that you're helping to keep your immunity high. It's very important right now. So drinking warm beverages with meals and cold in between, adding a little bit of citrus to help boost your vitamin C is a great way to boost your immunity right now. Keeping mealtime sacred. Put the technology down and connect with your family. I think this is a message that we have been sharing for literally 10 years with Eat Cleaner, but never before is there a better time to just connect with the well-being of your whole family at mealtime, and having that be an open conversation and a time to share together. And if you are alone in your home, you can FaceTime with a friend, eat a meal together, have a virtual mealtime together, cook together. And that is when you can use your technology. I'll give you permission for that. And restrict your eating hours. Boy, is it easy to just check into the kitchen whenever you feel bored. Try and kind of create a closing time of your kitchen where, it's just the refrigerator and the kitchen's closed, and that's that. You got other things to do. And that will help you keep your eating in check and avoid overindulging when you don't need to. All right, next slide, please. And so we have a lot of resources to support you in your eating better, healthy, quick meals at home. Our book, our full range of products, our website, our podcast. You can find all of that at eatcleaner.com. Next slide. And our Eat to Thrive 8-week program to help you look and feel your forking best. We will come out of this period better than ever. And we got to start getting ready for the summer, guys. So if you're looking for some additional help, we have a great 8-week program. All you have to do is text Fit Foodie to 22828. You'll get more information about that. And you'll also get, next slide, our free 2-week 14-day clean eating reset. And following us on social media helps you plug into us and us plug into you so that we can give you all the support that we can. And you can follow us at Eat Cleaner on most channels. Facebook, Instagram is where we hang out the most. You can also find our YouTube channel with a bunch of great cooking videos at Eat Cleaner. And I think that brings us to the end of our presentation.
Great, thanks so much, Mareya. So sorry we were having some technical issues today, but I thank you and all of the attendees for rolling with it. So before we do have a couple of questions, but before we go to questions, I just wanted to touch upon this slide. We are, sharing content as we receive it and information from all of our industry experts, partners, associations. Our team is continuously updating our industry resource page, so I encourage you to check this out at www.foodandbevshows.com. You can also refer here for any upcoming webinars to know about and be on the lookout for. We will be having our next webinar this week on Friday, discussing how to apply your hospitality skills for non-hospitality jobs. And then on Monday, we will be discussing how to stay healthy and calm in anxious times. So let's go on to some questions from the audience. Mareya, the first question that had come in, this person was curious where people can find your recipes. Leanne, I don't know if you want to click back to Mareya's previous slide too that we can leave up there.
Yeah, so to find our recipes, we have a lot of resources. We're really active on social media. So if you're following us at Eat Cleaner, we're always posting great, yummy recipes and fit food for thought. You can also find a lot of recipes on our YouTube channel at Eat Cleaner, and certainly on our website and in the book. My book just came out last year, Eat Like You Give a Fork, The Real Dish on Eating to Thrive, which really expands on the presentation today and this approach to eating clean. So the recipes that you find in there, I think you'll find really simple, but still delicious and nutrient dense, the focus being on getting all your essential nutrients in every bite. So hopefully you can find inspiration from any one of those places and all of them. Hopefully you follow all of us.
Great, thanks, Mareya. I know I've definitely found some great recipes, and especially when you've done some of our demos at our conferences or at our trade shows as well. The next question is, other than going to the market, is there a good online resource to buy fresh vegetables?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, it really varies depending on where you are in the country, and rightfully so, because in order to stay fresh and make sure it gets to you, you know, that's been the approach with a lot of produce companies. I know that Farm Fresh to You is something that we have here in our area. Melissa's Produce, one of my favorite produce companies, is a great resource to check out. I would check out your local farm to table companies. A lot of them are doing farm boxes now, you know, produce boxes. We have a restaurant in Orange County that is doing that. So they're taking what they normally would use for their meals for their restaurant and turning it into produce boxes. So I would just plug in with your local community and see what is out there. And there may even be some new resources sprouting up, no pun intended, because they're pivoting, talking about what we talked about last week, they're pivoting and, you know, offering new things that they have never offered before.
Great, that's great information. The next question, what about white rice or brown rice? Is that okay?
Yeah, I think rice is a really great grain to add to your everyday. You know, brown rice is going to be more nutrient dense and more full of fiber. If you prefer the taste of white rice, you know, why not combine them? We do that at home often because my kids tend to like basmati rice more than anything. So we'll do a little bit of both. I'm also a huge fan of black rice. Black rice is it used to be called forbidden rice, or sometimes it's even referred to it because it was the rice of the royals of China. But it's full of nutrients and it contains a very special one called anthocyanins. That's what gives it its color, which is wonderful for your heart health. So mix it up and just control your portions. You know, if you're eating rice, just make sure to add some veggies and protein to it to round it out.
Great, thank you. This is making me hungry.
I know, I'm starving. I'm ready.
That actually leads perfectly into our next question, which I think is our last question. You know, around grains, what is the best way to cook them? When they see them on the shelf, they really don't have an idea of what to do.
Yeah, it can be very daunting. In fact, I went to the grocery store the other day and one of the only shelves that was still full was the grains. And I just thought to myself, wow, people are really missing out on an inexpensive, wonderful food product here. You know, I'm a big fan of using different broths to cook my grains in to give it a lot of flavor. I'll add a little bit of stock or I'll add a little bouillon. My mom used to do this. She would make us a rice cereal for the morning and she would use either brown rice or she'd use wheat berries and she'd steep those in coconut milk. So you can use coconut milk for those rice cereals or desserts. You can use rice milk and make a rice pudding and turn that into a healthier dessert option. You can use nut milks. You can use a variety of different things to add flavor, even cooking it in a little bit. She would do grains in a little bit of tomato sauce. So using different sauces and broths and stocks and milks can help add a lot of flavor.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mareya. We appreciate you being with us today and, you know, giving us some great tips. And thank you to all of our attendees for tuning in. We appreciate the continued support of the Clarion Events Food and Beverage Group. I do hope everyone is staying healthy and safe during this time. And until next time, thanks so much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.